Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming along tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Simon Hodges, so I'm the Team Leader, Temporary Traffic Management for Christchurch City Council. I also represent the South Island Road Controlling Authorities on the Industry Steering Group. So what we've got for you tonight is the TTM Transition and Credentials Roadshow. It's ISG led, and we've got NZTA supporting the series. So this is a regional roadshow we're doing here in Christchurch. There's been a few around the country so far. It is a collaboration between the TTM Industry Steering Group and NZTA Waka Kotahi. So tonight's agenda is we'll go through the welcome and introduction that we're doing. We've got updates from the TTM-ISG. We are then having some updates from NZTA tonight, and then we'll move on to the credentials framework and working group. So, what is our mission as the ISG? Our mission as the ISG is to join everyone together, connect everybody up. We are looking to collaborate with industry and across the industry. We're advocating for industry, so there've been meetings with ministers, there's been meetings with different people around in the different scales through government levels, and we're looking to share that information that we are doing. So tonight we're connecting with everybody here and we're sharing learnings and sharing information. So that's the goal for tonight. So what does the TTM-ISG look like? So who are we? So we are a group of 12 volunteers. So we all volunteer to do this. We have across the industry we are representing. We have our leadership team, and we have a CEO now. So we actually have a CEO for Simon McManus, and we have a couple of support people that are actually part of that. But the rest of us are all volunteers. So we volunteer our time and our travel and everything to actually try and connect across the industry and help deliver better outcomes for everyone. So what have we got happening for 2026? So you'll see up here we've got a lot happening, and it's quite a busy schedule we have, but realistically you'll get these slides later so you can look at them in more in depth, so I'm not going to go through them all, but the real main thing to look at for you is that we've got multiple work streams going on at the moment. So we've got communication engagement, so you'll get our letters, you'll sign up for those. We're looking at procurement, how people can actually procure safe outcomes through New Zealand Guide. We have the training and competency, which is what we're going to be going through tonight. We have assurance work stream, which is about how to move away from a compliance base to an assurance base for risk-based approach, and we also have a good practice. So that's taking information that people can put in, that we can actually share that out so that people learn from what others are doing around the country and how they're taking on New Zealand Guide. Our working groups, like I say, we have a credentials framework, assurance, we have best practice, procurement, and our communications. Now, part of that as well is the cross-sector working group, which is helping people actually go across the sector. So we've got multiple tiers, but Ryan will cover a bit of that later on. We do have a website, so you can actually go and find out a lot of information, our news and resources. It keeps you up to date, links to the guidance, the practice notes, risk assessment tools, webinar recordings, and also the working group outputs. Now, this is about to go through a bit of a refresh, so I'd suggest that you actually go and have a look, but we will be refreshing. It's a bit of a rebranding coming up, but we'll be looking to actually get information out and go and sign up to the newsletter so that you can actually get the updates, you can hear about what's happening around the country. So what I'll do now is I will pass over to Ryan.
Thanks, Simon. Welcome tonight, everybody. Ryan Cooney, Program Director Roadworks Safety at NZTA, or as you saw in the previous slides, I'm the Secretary of the TTM-ISG. A little bit of change of tone here. Who recalls the road worker safety survey that was undertaken mid last year? Small number of you. Okay. Every year, the Traffic Management Association of Australia has been running road worker safety surveys, and what they have been looking for is understanding what the real story is for road workers. We hear lots of horrible stories, and so we went out and collected a bunch of data. We used their survey, teamed up with them. Really proud to say that New Zealand had almost 700 responses, which was just about more than the number that came out of Australia. We were right there. That survey will be run again this year. Now, why am I talking about this? What it told us is that road workers have a terrible time. We all know this, but we have some real data now to be able to tell that story. That story was taken to the Minister of Transport, NZTA, etc. And from that, this cross-sector working group has been pulled together. This cross-sector working group's a bit different to the ISG itself. You can see some different organisations in here, namely the Police, ACC, Transporting New Zealand and AA. And what it's about is trying to find ways that we can change the experiences of road workers on the daily basis. So try and get rid of this acrimony and physical abuse, verbal abuse that's occurring. So this group's been working away for a wee while, gathering data, and they're very close to launching their action plan and then putting pressure on various organisations to make a difference, one of which is NZTA, upping enforcement, changing the way technology is used, etc. So this group's been trying really hard to represent road workers. Now I'm going to change tack for a sec and talk about data. Who here is familiar with the Crash Analysis System, or CAS? Show of hands. Awesome. You guys are the most well-experienced group from around the country. Well done, you all. For those of you not heard of CAS, every time the police attend a crash, they fill in a traffic crash report and it gets put into this CAS database. It's been going since about the 1980s. One of the things that we have always found challenging is to extract data out of it that relates to roadworks sites. So there's been a recent attempt to do so and pull out some various bits and pieces of information. We all know, hopefully you've all heard me talking about over the years now, that the trend at work sites is getting worse. This is just a little snapshot, but the trend in terms of the amount of harm, and I'm going to use the phrase deaths and serious injuries. Deaths and serious injuries has been getting worse and worse at work sites throughout the years. It is over doubled since the beginning of the, around 2010 to 2020. There's over 2.5 times more crashes or deaths and serious injuries at work sites, which is something that really concerns us as NZTA, and I'm sure it concerns you all when you're trying to manage your work sites. I'm not going to talk through all the detail on these slides. The way CAS works is it looks at the type of crash that occurs, whether it's a run-off road or an intersection crash, etc. And we've been through and filtered out as much as we can around that, and some stats there you can have a look at when these slides come out. We've compared work sites to other parts of the network. Red is worse, green is better. I'm not going to talk through all that detail in the interest of time, but I am going to talk through these 3 headings. And here's where I slow down and try and make a really strong point. This is one of the really key takeaways I would love you all to hear about tonight and to think about how you can make a difference in your own day-to-day activities. 81% of all deaths and serious injuries at work sites are at unattended sites. We think about all the huge amount of effort we put in to manage attended sites. That's awesome, fantastic, love it. Unattended sites really deserve some effort as well. So this is a massive number. Even if it's out by 10%, it's still a very big number. It is the biggest number in terms of deaths and serious injuries associated with one particular type of work site. What I'm being really careful of here in talking about work sites, this is not just a TTM problem. This is a road user behaviour problem. We've really got to think about how we can connect with our road users through education campaigns, hence why AA, Police, Transporting New Zealand are part of that cross-sector working group. We need to think really hard as clients and contract managers about, do we even need that unattended work site? If we have an unattended work site, it's a high probability that somebody's going to come to grief and it's going to affect our communities. So there's a big piece here around the contracting side of things. But then of course there's the TTM industry, and what are we doing about contributing to reduce this deaths and serious injuries? Further stats in the blue bubbles add in additional conditions. So you can see they're going too fast or going too fast and at night as you work your way down those bubbles. The next stat that really stood out to us is loss of control. People losing control when they go through work sites. 43% of deaths and serious injuries. It's still a really big and significant number. So if we can do anything about people losing control, that would be awesome as well. And my last call out for tonight is to think about rear end crashes. You're twice as likely to have a rear end crash at the end of a queue at a work site as you are anywhere else in the network. Unfortunately, we're in the part of the country where there was I believe a 5-car, 3 helicopter scenario associated with a rear end tail of queue issue. My call out, I'm being really blunt here and I know I'm being provocative, but advance warning signs are not advance warning if they are beyond the end of the queue. The sign spacing distances in Coptum are minimum, the sign spacing distances in NZ Guide are minimum. Extend them out if the queue extends beyond the advance warning. Please, we really want to try and make a difference to that stat. Now, I'm going to keep moving through these and I'm going to talk about something else. This has been a little bit of insight into the road user experience. We have no national database to capture harm to road workers. There is no single source of truth, and that's a problem for us. So we want to do something about that as the ISG. We want to capture that information and truly start to understand what's happening to road workers. And my request to you tonight is that within your own organisations, no matter which size or which organisation you work for, is keep records of road worker deaths and serious injuries. Please do that. The ISG will be reaching out in due course to start trying to collate that as a national data set. We need the other half of the story to what I've just presented to you. All right, enough about the cross-sector working group. We've a little announcement to make, but before we do that, going to talk a little bit about the evolution of the sector. And I'm sure you all understand why the yellow bubble's there around TTM, and I'm sure you all understand why the blue bubble there is around health and safety, and we're trying to bring those two fields together. There's also this third bubble, the green bubble, that's around the idea of forward works planning. The idea of those of us who have been around a while, one pass, as we called it here in Christchurch, getting all the activity, be it water, utilities, transport, and doing it at one time, and looking at what's the best safety controls we can put in place around that. If we start planning well and getting the clients to team up and collaborate, the idea of road closures and or higher level controls start to make a lot more sense, and they're much easier to put a case together around. So the ISG is promoting this intersect of these three bubbles, that red space you see in the middle, trying to bring together the concept of forward works planning, continue to promote health and safety, and continue to promote TTM practice. And with that basis or that foundation for leadership, we're pleased to announce tonight, yes, for the 9th time, the upcoming it's the Clearway Conference, as we've titled it, 3rd of September in Auckland. We really encourage you to all put that in your diary. There'll be further announcements coming out shortly, but we're really trying to focus on this idea of bringing together those three sectors that we mentioned I mentioned on the last slide. Now, so the last slide from the ISG itself is that we've talked at you for, what are we at, about a quarter of an hour now. We're really keen to work for you. This QR code, everybody's got their cameras up taking snaps of it, or you can find it later. Encourage you to grab it now if you can. Is your opportunity to give feedback to the ISG around things that you want help with or that you'd like to see change. So grab this and tell us what you would like to see different, please. The ISG is a collaborative group representing lots of different parts of the sector, and it's really keen to find out what you need help with. Hopefully I've stalled for long enough that you've grabbed that QR code as you wish. If you haven't, please jump on the ISG's website and you'll find that up there shortly. All right, I'm changing hats now, so no longer representing the ISG and now representing NZTA. We're going to run through a few slides. Reason for this I'll explain in a moment. A little bit of a scene setter to start, reminding people that the New Zealand Guide was published in 2023, and from that what we found is that we had some more questions about data. I'm re-emphasising the point of having good data is extremely helpful. TTM costs started being reported to elected officials, the Minister of Transport in July 2024. What that was able to show is that the perception that TTM can make up 50% of a project is a misnomer. It's not real, and we were able to put a case together or put data together to show what it really costs to deliver TTM in this country. It's been a really productive and useful thing to do. It hasn't been scary, but it's been really helpful to show that this industry is serious and it is committed to trying to make a difference to people's safety. The next 2 points I'm going to bring to your attention here are November 2024, September/October 2025. And what those points are about is NZTA realised that publishing the New Zealand Guide is just step one. To make this real and to bring it to life, we needed to embed it in our contracts. How many people are used to a commercial contract saying comply with COPTM? It was through every contract pretty much in New Zealand. And so we realised that we couldn't maintain that. If we wanted the guide to have a life and to bring risk management to life, we had to change our contracts. So in November 24, we changed our capital contracts, our new contracts that were going out. In October 25, we changed the NOCs. And we basically embedded in our business and our client PCBU activities and our relationship with the lead contractor PCBU, the New Zealand Guide. Why am I talking about this, you might ask? Because in July 2025, we published or required, why is this not working? We required local government to start progressing as well. Now, local government folk in the room know this well and truly. I'm not talking to local government with these points that are on the screen here. So in July 2025, the NZTA board decided that if local government wants money from the National Land Transport Fund, they must convert their contracts. Who knows what the National Land Transport Fund is? Again, you guys are awesome. You know lots about how the system works. Whenever you buy petrol, fuel excise duty is included in it. Whenever you buy RUC, you pay RUC charges. That money ends up in the National Land Transport Fund. That is then distributed back out to councils and NZTA and DOC to be used to maintain the transport system of New Zealand. NZTA is responsible, or one of the groups of NZTA is responsible for distributing that money, and they said if you want money, local government and DOC, then please use the New Zealand Guide from the dates of July 2026 for new contracts and July 2027 for existing contracts. Again, I'm not talking to local government, they all know this very well. This is for the contractors that are bidding for work. You should see from those dates new clauses in those contracts coming out. It's a good opportunity to prepare yourself for that because local government is now doing the same thing that we have done as NZTA within the state highway business. All councils were required to respond, and every one of them, including DOC, has responded saying, yes, we'll do that. Councils have submitted some really good plans and are doing a great job at progressing to adopting or complying with those conditions. So well done, council folk that are in the room, good job. Contractors, keep your eyes open for that comply with COPTM clause to disappear in the near future. However, we have found through our contracting process that we still have room to improve. We see bids coming in from suppliers where they are still learning how to write a risk statement. It's our number one observation of the industry at the moment, is that we still got opportunity to learn how to write that risk statement, describing risks, applying the hierarchy of controls, etc. So apologies, I am going to do this and start talking about what a good risk statement is. But I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to plug our training teams that are here. This slide is essentially a slide straight out of the training, the risk units, micro-credentials. So thank you, team. If you want to learn more about this, please go and have a chat with those training providers. It's really important that when we write a risk statement, we write it well, and it covers off three key elements. The event, cause, consequence. I've also seen it as event, people that are involved, consequence, but it's a really robust statement that covers off things like a worker is on foot, they are struck by a vehicle that leaves a carriageway resulting in blunt force trauma. It's really important we write that, and you might say why, oh look, I've got a slide here to help explain that. So the same statement, I had to squish it and make it fit on the slide, but the point of this slide here is that you can start seeing different ways to solve the problem. This is about us evolving away from the idea, who's heard the saying that to a hammer everything is a nail? Yeah, bit old-fashioned, but this is about us starting to think a bit differently around how to solve a problem. The very first point I make here is that for that risk statement to be true, a worker must be on foot. One of the ways of solving that problem is to think about how the work is done and not have a worker on foot. That's not always possible, but it's definitely an option. Then we go road closure, no cars being present, and I just always caution people around that because we're simply transferring the cars elsewhere and we're responsible for those relocated cars. A barrier system stops the car leaving the carriageway. Or if we do something around speed management, we change the level of energy and the force that's exerted on a road worker if a car is if a car hits them. So it's really important we write a really robust risk statement because it helps us with our risk controls. I will pause there. I think I've probably done my dash of acting like a preacher. I hope that's a useful little prompt for you. Please have a go at trying those robust risk statements. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Michael now, who will talk to you a little bit about the RTTMC.
Hi there, my name's Michael Ballard. I am from NZTA, and a big part of my role is I head up the RCA Temporary Traffic Management Centre, or the RTTMC. We were set up in September of last year to represent NZTA's requirements under the Health and Safety at Work Act in undertaking our RCA function, hence RCA Temporary Traffic Management Centre. And we do the approvals of the regulatory functions and also look and review risk statements as they come in. Since being set up, we've got a lot more data than we've ever had on what's happening with the industry around applying the New Zealand Guide. So I thought what we'd do is I'd share some of the things we've learnt and some of the things that we're trying to do as the RTTMC to improve how we address some of these issues. But before I go into issues, I know this might be a bit hard for some people to see, but this graph here is representing how many New Zealand Guide to temporary traffic management applications we see versus COPTM applications. The light blue are the COPTM applications, the orange are the NZG applications, and it's about 17% as of March are COPTM. So we're seeing a large proportion of what's coming in through the RTTMC are New Zealand Guide to Temporary Traffic Management applications, which is actually really good news. It shows that the industry is giving it a go. I would preface that and say, this is just the number of them. This is not pointing to the quality of them. And that's to Ryan's point around the risk statements. I'll skip past the next one and jump to this one here. What this graph is showing is showing the total number of traffic management plan interactions we are having within the RTTMC. So you can see there it's quite a large number. So in March we had 1,800 come through. And what the two colours there mean are the light blue is new TMPs that we haven't seen before. The orange is TMPs that have already been through the system at least once. So you can see we've still got a bit of a disparity there. It's not quite a one-pass system yet, and that's one of our goals, is to be one pass. This here can be quite confusing and hard to understand, and I suggest when the slide pack comes out, have a look at it and work your way through it. But what this is representing is how someone who wants to access NZTA's state highway network, how they might go from having the idea they want to access it right through to delivery on the ground. So you can see as you work through it, you've got the strategy bit, which is mainly with the clients, or predominantly all with the clients. So that is clients figuring out how they want to deliver the works. You've then got the tactics, which is where after the work is procured, and you start working through traffic management plans and corridor access requests, and then through into the operations where you're actually starting to book road space and deploy. What we're seeing in the RTTMC is we're seeing 2 points in here which aren't really representing the New Zealand Guide to Temporary Traffic Management really well, or the Health and Safety at Work Act. Those 2 points, the first one is around the 3 C's, so consult, cooperate, coordinate. We're not seeing that happening particularly well, and I'll explain that a bit later. And then the other bit that we're seeing that's not happening particularly well is road space bookings and deployments. And I'll explain that a bit further. So what I wanted to do is just represent to you what is the benefit, whether you're a contractor, client, or RCA, what is the benefit of the 3 C's? Lots of words up there and you can read through them, but what it boils down to is everyone knowing what everyone else is doing, all being on the same page. And that's what we want. We want us to all be on the same page when TTM's rolled out. How do we know that it's not happening based on what we're seeing? This first graph up here, this is our early access request and how much we're seeing them before a traffic management plan is submitted. What we're seeing is 2/3 of early access requests that are put in are either after or on the same day as we're seeing the TMP. So it's not really an early access request if we're seeing it at the same time. To add to that is that's the second graph down the bottom here, and what we're seeing from this is that all of the TMPs that we're seeing, or if we consider all the TMPs that are coming through, 55% we're seeing within 5 days of people wanting to have boots on the ground. So it's not a lot of time to have good, cooperative, consultative discussions. So for RTTMC, what we're doing, and there's process down here that you can read, we can walk you through that if you give us a yell. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to enhance the early access request, and we're doing that by taking the approval away from it. So what it becomes is it becomes a triage point, it becomes a point that kicks off those 3 C's discussions. So what we want to see is we want to see those early access requests submitted right at the time where a contractor procures the work. So as early as we can possibly get it without bumping into the client side and the strategy side, that's when we want early access requests. That way, we as the RTTMC, but also NZTA's regional teams can work with people to get the best result. If we then look at deployments, what's the benefit of deployments? For an RCA and for a client, it's really simple. It's about knowing where people are on the network. For a contractor, it's slightly different. It comes down to the RCA and the client giving the contractor confidence that you're going to have the availability on the network that you want. How do we know it's not happening? Once again, big graph, lots of lines on there. I don't know, I can find Canterbury really quickly, but it's got every region in New Zealand represented in there and 4 weeks of deployment data or where people have told us that they are going to deploy on the network. What we're seeing is we're only seeing about 30% of what actually should be. That's all we're seeing that's been deployed. Really small number of deployments going out. Of that 30%, only 10% of the total, so 3%, if I've got my maths right, 10% of the total are NZTA Capital Works, third-party works, and subcontractors to our maintenance suppliers. The rest of what we're seeing deployed is our maintenance, is NZTA's maintenance suppliers. So it's actually not a very great story, and we want to improve that because we really want to understand that deployment. So what we're doing in that space is we are working with a few parties. We're working with Made Curious, who are the developers of My Worksites. We're working with Auckland Transport and also Christchurch City Council to look at a road space booking and deployment function. What that will do is that will allow within my work sites the ability to book road space on the network further out than what we're currently doing it, and then to deploy in a near real-time situation. We're looking at piloting this in the next couple of months, and then it'll roll out in about Q3-ish of this year. So by the end of the year, this is what we want in place to try and encourage better deployments. So that's what we're going to try to do, but I would encourage you, come and have a chat to me afterwards, and yeah, let's try and improve these points that would help the whole industry, so yeah.
Evening everybody, I'm Wayne, I'm the TTM supplier rep for the ISG. Here tonight to just take you through the Credentials Framework Working Group and what we've been up to for the last 4 years now. So the goal for the next few slides is we're going to give you a bit of an overview of the framework, what's available to you now, how does that replace the warrant system, or give you an option of replacing the warrant system. And we're going to run through a bunch of examples of how that's played out and how people are starting to use that in the workplace, to just drag that out a little bit. I really want to encourage everyone to please come and chat to us afterwards, and just chat through your specific journey, because we recognize that training now is very specific to each PCBU, which is naturally pretty unique, as opposed to our old warrant system, which was that big old deck of PowerPoints we all had to get through. So come and have a chat. The PTEs are present tonight, as mentioned before. Please, thanks for being here first up. Please have a chat to them, because they are the providers that are delivering the training for you. Go and have a chat about how you can consume it, what method would work best for you. Please have a yarn to them. This is the TTM Credentials Framework Working Group. So I think there was as many as 18 of us that came together 4 years ago. We're all volunteers, essentially came together recognizing that the warrant system was going to get turned off, and somebody needed to start figuring out an option for us all to have available in the future. So we just got on with it, and we tried to ensure we covered a lot of different sectors in the industry, to make sure we were getting a lot of input across the board to try and consider a best way forward. So we worked really hard. Group's been putting countless hours in to try and present something, which we'll go through today. The main objectives we covered was designing a framework that better aligned with the guide. Okay. Obviously those contracts are changing, like Ryan said earlier. We needed the training to then align better with how we're going to do this risk-based approach. We worked really hard with the Energy and Infrastructure Industry Skills Board, so the industry setting body, the whole way through all those 4 years. I can't tell you the amount of whiteboards we filled with how we're going to do training different, and that failed, and we did it again and again and again. The industry setting board was great for us to just guide us in line with NZTA to make sure these become micro-credentials for people's record of learning. And one of the big focuses was to move away from qualifications and into competencies. So competency being a skill that's practiced consistently. We can prove rather than you've attended a course, you became qualified, but could you actually practice that skill at work really competently or safely? And so that was one of the core focuses for us. This is the framework. I'm not going to run through it line by line because there's a lot to unpack here, but again, chat to your PTEs. If you do want to unpack more of the detail, jump on the ISG website and you can click on that detail. That will be available in the next couple of weeks, and really unpack the different micro-credentials that are available there for you. One thing to note out the gate is they don't line up perfectly with the previous warrant model. So there are some different gaps, and again, that's why we want to chat to you tonight to help see what you're after for your PCBU and how this new framework might support you. So we recognize no one-size-fits-all in the training. The old warrant system wasn't great for a lot of different people in a lot of different sectors. If I use road marking as one example, they spent a long time getting qualified to become an STMS, running through lots of quals, and all they actually used on the ground, the competency practiced, was mobile operations. Okay, so there's a lot of training, assessment, checking, qualifying yourself to not use a lot of the skills. We've tried to change this framework to have stuff that you pick and mix, essentially, the qualifications you need for your PCBU to fulfill your HASWire requirements for your employees. So you pick the appropriate training you need and stick to that. You don't have to do all of it. And that's what we want to help you with today, is map the different training that you need for your business and no more. So pick and mix is obviously a big topic, and it's part of our design of how we put this together. There's no limitations about who you go to for training. So what do I mean by that? You might chat to Connexus tonight, and one of the micro-credentials you really like, you can chat to them and do one with them. You can do one with Elite Safety, and so on and so forth. You can mix and match who you get all your training provided, or who the providers are you use for training. One key difference in the market you'll see out there is a lot of their content is different. So some might be online only, some might be face-to-face only. Again, for PCBUs, what works for your people is what we've tried to design. If they like online and they can understand the concepts and practice the skills in your workplace, it's great. If not, do the face-to-face one. But the power should be with yourselves to decide what works for your people best. You know them better than anyone else. And the old death by PowerPoint didn't work very well for a lot of people. Myself as a supplier, the way our STMSs learned was practicing together on the ground, and we were good at gathering naturally occurring evidence of their competency as they built their competence, or confidence as they grew. So that was good. Chat to the PTEs, about assessment of prior learning, so RPL or RCC process. So just because warrants have changed or expired and now no longer, it doesn't mean our people have forgotten how to do things. They know how to put the closures out on the ground. No one wiped their mind to suddenly think they're now incompetent, they don't know how to do all this work. They do. All that's happened is the qualifications turned off. I would argue their competency remains. Chat to the PTEs about how you could use those processes to re-qualify your people. And it's up to you to just pick which training is going to suit your needs. That's hopefully what we've designed today. So please encourage you to go and chat to everyone out there. The way forward, as I mentioned, warrants are no longer available. The final unit standards 31958 and 31963 will be turned off shortly, I think in a month or two. So even though the credentials are accredited for life, one important thing for us to focus on is you qualify once for life now. So once you've got that micro-credential, you don't have to go back and re-qualify over and over again. So that we think is one benefit. But a bit of pressure on the PCBUs. You need to prove ongoing current competency. So a bit like a sports players, if you've got a coach there, they're probably counting how many tackles we missed in a game. How sharp are we? And how should we, running businesses, make sure we're checking that our staff are practicing competency on the ground constantly and they're staying sharp? You might want to consider your own internal version of what a refresher looks like, or again, chat to the PTEs about how you might do that. So continuous training on the job, we thought was a great benefit. So as opposed to the training we used to do in the past, where we'd attend a classroom session, we'd have those fake closures. Remember to get qualified to pass your assessment. The future is going to look more like you'll go to those classroom sessions or online sessions, and you gather naturally occurring evidence in your workplace on a job to pass your assessments, which does reduce the costs massively for a lot of people. And again, the PTEs will help you through how that works. Please, this is ongoing. Again, it's taken us 4 years to get to this point. We recognize that we definitely haven't got it all right. We really, really, really need your help and critique and feedback. What does work as you get into this training? What doesn't work? We can adjust, we can amend, we can put it back out to market and see how we can better assist the whole sector. So we really, really need your feedback from this point on. So please jump on that ISG website and let us know what's worked and where we missed the mark, and we'll go back to work for you. Awesome. I'll hand over to Mel.
Thanks, Wayne. Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie Murirson. I'm from Stantec. I am the Association of Consulting and Engineering rep on the working group and have been on it for the last 4 years. So I represent all the professional services organisations and the surveyors, the engineers, and I am presenting the first case study, and this is for coastline markers. So this is Bruce Goodall from our working group, the road marking company. They've got about 50 site staff. They do a lot of short-term mobile closures. and they've really seen a massive improvement. So he's really, really positive about this. I can't really give the credit and do the credit that he would do if he was here. So I mean, as we have seen, the old system, it was quite rigid and prescriptive, and particularly when we're looking at the road markers and what they need to do versus what others need to do on the road. It was quite classroom based and flexible material. Limited dates for courses, you always had to wait for the next one to come up, and expensive and disruptive, and we'll give you some costs around that soon. What he has found, it's that flexible pick and mix framework. It's something you're going to hear with all these case studies. There's multiple delivery mechanisms, so for each of the PTEs, they will have a different way of presenting the courses to you. The material can be tailored to your sector, to your customer, and that's something that we're seeing in all parts of the industry. And that learning is fully flexible and it caters for the different learning styles of the people in your organisation. And it's cost effective and mostly on-the-job training. So OJT is on-job training. And it's supporting those businesses with the TTM connection. So with this, the specific improvements for the operator TTM training, you'll see here, it takes over about a year to get a practicing STMS certificate, one or warrant system. And that really equated to about $10,000 in costs to the organisation, wages, time out of work. And our operators were trained and assessed on closures that they never actually implemented in their daily work. So doing these dummy closures, these guys weren't actually doing that. And so it was a massive waste of time and money. So under this new framework, the operators are training as soon as they complete their inductions, so we can get them out there. And from Bruce's perspective, it's about 10% of the original costs. So that's a massive reduction for them. The training is actually tailored to the type of closures and the work that they do on site. And this produces the graduates that are actually ready for the operations that they do. So it's fit for purpose. And as part of their training, they've actually had Connexus come out and do a day's worth of filming with them out on site to actually create material for their training that's actually relevant for their company. So they're going to see their own staff out there demonstrating the setups and the things that they should be doing. And this is great. For them, they were able to really hone in on what they needed to focus on and put those skills to good practice. So it's been really a positive journey for Coastline. It's helping them tailor the training to what they really need. And it's also helping with creating the internal trainers getting that assistance from the external PTEs. So it's across the board for everyone. And he's got a lovely slide there, happy staff. So thank you very much. And I'll pass over to Grace.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you to the ISG for inviting me to run through Fulton Hogan's approach to learning, training and development for risk-based TTM. There are big changes happening all over the world in how we learn, train and progress at work. And at Fulton Hogan, we've designed our training and competency framework to help our people develop skills that are useful in any part of our business, as well as TTM, like risk management skills. The COPTM system has served the industry well for a long time, and it's given many of us a strong foundation to build from. What we're doing now is taking the next step forward. We looked at it as an opportunity to evolve how we help our people develop new skills by building even stronger connections between training and real work on site. So rather than relying mainly on classroom learning and assessments, Fulton Hogan are shifting towards a model that focuses more on real experience, real work environments, and ongoing development on the job. We've chosen to deliver this model with our own trainers and assessors, building connection, providing manaakitanga and whanaungatanga across the business, and at the same time building resilience for our organisation as a whole. To do this, we've partnered with TM Academy to make use of their digital learning system. What it means is that our people won't just be sent away on courses and expected to pass a test. Instead, most of our learning will happen on the job, doing the mahi. We will still have some theory learning, particularly with the new skills standards and micro-credentials developed by the Infrastructure Skills Board. But the main thing is people will be learning on real sites, in the flow of work, doing real tasks and showing that they can do the job properly and meet the national standards. The training is set up in 5 stages. Stage 1 is essential knowledge and skills for working in TTM. What we want to see in stage 1 is that people are able to complete routine tasks under close supervision and follow instructions while developing basic skills and knowledge. Stage 2 is foundation technical skills, safety and working with others. At this stage, people are able to work under routine supervision, assist others and actively build skills through training and on-the-job experience. Stage 3 is building technical skills, safety leadership and supervision skills. What we want to see at this stage is people are performing varied activities, including complex tasks, apply problem solving and manage their own workload. Stage 4 is advanced technical skills, safety leadership and supervision. So that's being able to work autonomously on diverse and complex tasks, providing guidance to others and delegate when appropriate. And stage 5 is the end-to-end management of TTM planning, processes and assurance. These 5 stages apply to all our roles in TTM, including TM workers, STMS, planners and designers, and traffic managers. So there's a clear pathway. You can actually see how you can progress. If we look at the traffic control and implementation learning pathways in more detail, a big part of this is something called on-job learning modules. Don't worry about the name. It just means a short, easy to follow learning done on a tablet or a phone in small chunks that can be done when there's downtime. You log on, log what you've done on the job and show evidence, photos or a quick description to prove your competency. So for our managers, instead of hoping someone is competent on the job, people can actually prove it with real work. What this means for us day to day is people are learning while at work. There will be less days in the classroom on long courses. People will build skills faster and in a way that actually sticks. And we're focusing on safety, efficiency and career development. Our goal is to make skills development part of everyday work. So people are building real capability on the job, not just completing training. We're moving away from a one-size-fits-all approach and recognising that most learning happens best in the flow of work. The framework is aligned with NZQA and wider industry standards with our Fulton Hogan Te Amari principles of kautahitanga, manaakitanga and whanaungatanga and our ways of working, our living safely approach. It also supports better performance and development conversations, giving our people clear pathways to grow and support their career aspirations in TTM. This is a big change for everyone, and I'll be honest, it won't be perfect straight away. We are building the waka as we're rowing it, but we are genuinely putting people at the heart of everything. Thank you for listening. Ngā mihi nui.
Hey team, I'm Jo. I'm from South Road, but south of here. We don't talk about anything down there though. I've been a member of the Credentials group for around two years. And part of the group, an amazing technical advisory group that worked with the WDCs writing all of these qualifications. Big shout out to Ben and Marius. for all their help putting it together. South Roads aren't a Tier 1 contractor. We've had to, I guess, look at the framework and go, how can we map this in our world? We don't have huge volumes of trainers or assessors or anything. So basically what we're doing, our new people coming in, we're putting them into low risk, low impact initially. It gives them a wee bit of exposure. We've then basically mapped all of their roles and went, okay, if you're going to be working in TTM all the time, we're going to start putting them through the framework, working towards their TTM supervision qualification. We sort of expect that pathway might take a year, it might take some learners a year and a half, but it gives them something to work to and towards, and without sort of expecting them to all go real deep in it initially, it lets them work at their own pace. For those people that have already got existing qualifications, we're doing competency assessments, verifying their competency on live sites, on actual tasks. So just trying to, I guess, maybe keep it simple, but achieve everything we need to under HASWAST. So yeah, and I'm going to hand over to Betty.
Good evening. My name is Betty Mitrova. Today I'm wearing a couple of different hats. Firstly, representing my home organisation of Downer as the National Traffic Management Lead. Alongside that, I've been working with the TTM Credentials Framework Group as the chair for the past 4 years, and on the TTM-ISG, I represent the Tier 1 contractors. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit around the Risk and TTM micro-credential. This was the very first micro-credential of the broader framework that was developed, and the way in which it came about, Downer had quite a significant involvement. We had a fatality about 6 years ago here on the CSM2 project, and as a result of that we entered into an enforceable undertaking with WorkSafe, and one of the key components of that enforceable undertaking was to develop a qualification or something that would support the industry to better identify and apply risk management out in the field. So that's how this was born. Throughout the development of this micro-credential, the NZG TTM was also introduced, and with that, for the broader sector, the terrain really changed, and as a result of that, so did how we look at risk and the ways in which we apply it. So subjectivity was something that has come up quite a lot. When we talk about risk, everyone has a different perception of it, a different understanding and a different risk appetite, so to say. And Wayne earlier talked about utilising organic training, on-the-job training as a mechanism to really actually apply genuine learning and skills in the workplace. But what the micro-credentials help us do is actually take those organic skills, take that existing knowledge and evidence it in a more structured way. So the risk in TTM for our team has not been used across the wider workplace. We've, in quite targeted areas, applied the utilisation of this credential, and in this particular case study we've used it across our 28 designers, and how it works is basically it's a three-part framework. The first one starts off with a theory-based workshop, and it's really around looking into all of the complexities of risk across the broader industry, bringing in some of that existing knowledge and those skills, and then working through a self-paced online e-learning program. Through there, we then take all those learnings and all of the individuals, once again in a self-paced way, they work through the credential and actually develop a risk assessment and apply it in the field, and that is our evidence of competency. So what's been really good here is, once again, all of the existing skills and knowledge they've had hasn't just been turned off because there's been a new micro-credential or a new framework introduced. This has really helped them enhance their existing knowledge. It's been a way in which we could apply a more structured approach to ongoing competence, and it's been a really good process around actually understanding the changes that are there and about. So in terms of what's changed, I feel our teams are a lot more confident and a lot more competent with the way in which they manage risk within their TTM designs, and also it's helped them be able to really articulate that through their plans, and that's flown on through into the way in which we deliver TTM. So just moving on from that, we're about to wrap on up. So the next part of tonight is all about our breakout sessions. We've got 3 groups. The first one is the TTM Credentials Framework Working Group. So Wayne's just holding up this paddle. So we'll be kind of congregating around this front end here. So if anybody wants to talk to us around the framework, the micro credentials, any way in which they might be applied to your organisation, we're the group to do that. The second group is about the RCAs, and I'm assuming Simon might have the paddle back there. So they'll be towards the back of the room. So anything to do with, deployments or how TMPs are assessed or how you access the network, that's your bunch over there. And very lastly, all of our training providers across the back. So we've got ChevTrain, Connexus, Elite Safety and TM Academy, and they are the delivery partners. So if you want to know how to operationalise this framework, they are the ones to speak to. We do have some food coming out that should be getting ready to go very shortly, if not already. So grab a drink, grab some food, come and talk to us, and don't forget to use the QR code. Thank you.